that hypocrisy is like a load-bearing element of this system, and it doesn't matter because the people who have the power, they have the power, and you don't. And so you can either accept their frame of the argument and accept that you're dealing with a hypocrite, or you can escape that frame of the argument and do things like what we do at Defense Distributed. Just give you the access to make this stuff yourself, to communicate with each other, use Bitcoin. Don't even use US dollars. That's a losing game. And just accept yourself from this situation. That's the best advice I've got. Other than, obviously, if you're still voting at this point, I don't know what to do for you.
All right, so we have inside the studio Cody Wilson. We have on the phone James McCoy. He's going to join us. He's with Urban Sharpshooters Gun Club out of the D.C., Maryland area. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we got Cody Wilson, the director of Defense Distributed. Man, so how long you been back as the director of Defense Distributed, Cody?
I don't know, man. It feels like 10 years at this point. How about, I don't know, like a year maybe?
Nice.
How long was 2020 anyway?
It was 2020 lasted like 10 years.
I think like Lennon said, some years, decades happen. So.
Yeah, there was a lot happening in 2020, boy, and it went by fast.
Oh, man. And here we are, 2020 part 2, and it feels like we're right back into it.
What do you think is going to happen with this president after January the 20th? What do you think is going to happen as far as the Second Amendment?
I think everything's going to calm down, and there's going to be no problems, and we're all going to get along, and I think it'll be a period of national reunification and healing is what I think, Mike.
Oh, are we rolling something? We must be rolling something
on
the table here.
I think we're all gonna. I think it's all gonna work out. I think everything's gonna get better.
It's all kumbaya.
That's a bunch of malarkey.
I'm telling you right now,
Mike. I think I'm going to prison.
No, don't say that. No, I don't know what I would do. I gotta have my Sunday brunch partner.
Look, at least with Uncle Joe in power, it's like, okay, all the peasants are back in the fields. We all know what the score is. Okay, there's none of this illusion.
You know where you stand.
You know exactly where you stand, buddy.
That's the thing I like.
You ain't in power. You never were.
When Joe goes to the stage on January the 20th at noon, I know what I'm gonna get.
With an empty National Mall and 30,000 National Guard troops.
I know what I'm gonna get. There would be more troops than civilians standing there watching this man take the oath. I'm telling you now.
Being like, wow, man, I sure am glad we got our free government back.
Here's what they're doing. you guys are falling for the okie doke. The reason we have thousands of troops in D.C. is because no one else is going. I'm telling you right now, no one else is going to watch this guy,
To protect
take
our
the oath of
democracy,
office.
to protect our free and open government.
Yeah, these people, no one likes this guy. They don't like him. People have just voted against Trump is all it was. No one's going to watch him take the oath of office, except we will have troops, thousands.
I'm watching with fear and loathing. And I tell you, man, it was weird for me to see like Samantha Power and some of these people from my kind of early adulthood or late adolescence back in power. You know, the whole cast of characters that I grew up with in the Obama period, they're back. You know, here they are, reappointed, back in power. Yeah, the Iraq war planners have been replaced with the Syria war planners, the Yemen war planners. I mean, the Libya people. We're all back in power. It's amazing.
Yes, we can.
Oh boy.
Swamp
Okay.
is back, baby.
You ain't nothing but a dog-faced pony soldier.
All right, so let me bring into the conversation James McCoy. He's with Urban Sharpshooters Gun Club, LLC, out of Washington, D.C. in the Maryland area. Welcome, James McCoy, to Come and Talk It.
Hey, thank you, and how's everybody, brother in arms?
Oh, man, we're doing great, man. You know, James, you were down in ground zero at the Capitol when this insurrection actually happened a couple weeks ago. So, you know, what did you see? What did you hear? What did you smell? What did you think?
Why'd you do it?
Why did you do it?
If anybody looked on my Facebook page and they understood the first comments that I made, I told everybody that what we see was very American. You had a process or an election where one guy won and one guy lost. And, of course, you're going to have people that was going to be upset and disappointed. But the ugly side of America, what a lot of people don't want to see, is the hatred that comes from one particular party over another. I know people might say, well, you know, don't go off on that tangent, James, because, you know, you got Antifa, which is the extreme left. But coming from somebody that lives in Washington, D.C., and I'm actually a Democrat, so I know that's shocking that an African-American, a founder of an African-American gun club is a Democrat, not a Republican. But, you know, from what I saw and the people that I interviewed, the hatred that was there and the message that was sent, it was not surprising to see people in rebellion and insurrection. So when I hear Marge and I hear other people talk about fake news or whatever, I think we really need to go back and listen to what the president had been saying, even when he was going to be impeached the first time. He said that within the law enforcement community, within the military community, and even the bikers, you were going to have people that would be in rebellion if he was removed from office. And in his words and his speech and his language, because I'm there listening to this nut, he sent the people from Freedom Plaza to the Capitol to do exactly what they did. And now people are acting like, I don't know why they did it. It wasn't Trump's people. It was Antifa. It was imposters. No, America saw exactly what America is all about, and we need to stop pretending.
Well, a word then. I mean, you know, if this was an insurrection, it was the goofiest, softest, most pleasant insurrection that we have ever witnessed as a country, and I am ashamed of our brothers.
No, brother, not to cut you off, but again, having people in the Secret Service, federal police officers, metropolitan police officers, this was, and we go back and watch the videotape, the hypocrisy starts with why people are actually out protesting. Where Black Lives Matter, if we're going to talk about that organization, they were the enemy of the police or viewed as the enemy because they were protesting police brutality or the injustice that the police was serving against a particular group of people, right? When Trump's people come in town, because Trump is pro-police union, you can look at the Capitol that day and see police officers actually taking selfies with people that came out there to protest Trump's losing the election. You could see police officers guiding protesters into the Capitol, some of which have been fired. So I don't know what you guys look at or what you consider fake news, but let's look at the reality that you have people who took an oath to the United States of America to protect and defend the Constitution from enemies both foreign and domestic. and they allowed this mockery to take place for the world to see.
Well, I mean, I guess that's the question: is a cartoonish mob, slapping cops on the shoulders and taking selfies, the definition of sacking the United States Capitol? And should we
How
maybe
about a
should we
man
maybe
with
take
a
a break?
Confederate flag allowed to walk into the rotunda of the Capitol? How about a crazy lady who decides to go through a barricade and is shot and killed? I find the gun community to be part of the problem, because some people within the gun community encourage this type of behavior. And then when crazy people do the unthinkable, the gun community backs away and acts like the gun community's hands don't have their blood on it.
Well, the only blood I saw spilled at the Capitol, brother, was that poor Trump lady who got murdered. So I mean, they won't even say her
How
name.
about the police hold on, wait a minute. How about the police officers that died?
What, like after the fact, from proximate causes?
One got hit in the head with a fire extinguisher or something. You had a couple of people commit suicide. Like I said, again, how about the congressman a day prior that gave certain people tours of the Capitol?
Look,
so,
it's a free
again,
and
I'm
open
from
government.
DC.
It's a free and open government and seat of government, or it isn't, right? You got a First Amendment right to protest and be goofy and bring symbols into the rotunda, or you
don't have a First
right?
Amendment right to bring a nuisance to the Capitol. You don't have a First Amendment right to break the windows out the Capitol. That's called treason.
I know for a fact people
It's
have
called
permits.
Insurrection. It's called sedition.
Look at this. I'm defending MAGA people now. But I know for a fact people had permits
but
to
this is what I'm
protest at
saying,
that
though.
building.
So
People have
again,
permits to be at that building.
Does the gun community, and Mike, you should do a topic on this, does the gun community support sacking your own Capitol because your man lost in an election?
Well, Mike, I mean, he's asking you.
I don't know.
Well, anybody.
Oh, look, I mean, I don't think I'm a good representative of the gun community, but I mean, sacking the United States Capitol is about as American as apple pie, as far as I'm concerned.
Not by Americans.
Yeah,
What are you talking about? That's Thomas Jefferson, brother.
Yeah.
As soon as it doesn't serve your purposes, you got the right to alter or abolish it. I believe he put that in what? The Declaration of Independence? Sorry, it's been a while since I took civics, man, but I don't take it that serious anymore because there's people like you on the radio.
And when the rebel army that we call the Confederacy raised up against the United States government, they were held as traitors and should have been hung at the gallows for treason. But because most of them were West Point brothers, they let them off the hook.
Well,
If you take an oath to preserve the government of the United States of America and you violate that oath, you're a traitor.
I think there's clearly
When I saw a Confederate flag walking around in the United States Capitol, that's the flag of a foreign army. See, it becomes a little deeper than the gun conversation. It goes all the way back to 1865, where you have people that still butthurt that their team lost. I'm there, right across the street from the Capitol, and I see the gun community's presence. And I'm looking at TV right now on NBC. And the only thing that you're seeing is this white guy with a Confederate flag. When I'm down there, I see all kind of shit. The South will rise again. I see so many people mad because Trump lost.
Don't get me on the radio.
And what he represented.
Okay. Well, look, I think when you're in the South, you're gonna see that, right? I mean,
No, you don't. You don't see that everywhere.
Well, hell, I saw
You
that.
see that from a certain group of people
30 years
who are
old now.
still holding on to a lost cause, sir. That's why the United States military banned that symbol from every military installation they have. And I think all military installations just went that way. See, America has this deep wound that has never healed. And people keep picking at it, right? You got some people that's mad because their team lost. And then here comes a Donald Trump playing with the emotions of these people, knowing damn well he's a New York Yankee. But yet people needed him and saw him as a hero.
I don't agree. I don't agree with the flying the the rebel flag. But hey, if a person wants to do it, they have a right to do it.
In the United States Capitol, Mike, come on, man.
Hey, you have a right. You have a right to express yourself. There's nothing illegal about flying that flag. Having that flag inside the building of the U.S. Capitol. There's nothing that violates the law when it comes to that. That lets me know. It may let me know that you're a proud loser. That's all fine and dandy. But you have a right to do that. There's nothing wrong. They have that right.
All right, so we had a roundtable discussion about what happened. And see, when we look at the root, we understand the cause. Why did they go there to do what they did? Nobody wants to talk about that. They had direct instructions to do exactly what they did. Who were they going to go to assassinate? Who were they going to go to kidnap? When we hear of lawmakers being threatened by quote-unquote armed men who are going to kidnap them just because they decided that they want the right to go get a fucking haircut and some ice cream.
Ooh,
right?
remember,
So they're
hey,
in
hey,
insurrection for that.
James, remember we're on the radio.
Oh, forgive me. But what I'm saying is that the gun community, again, is partly responsible for the negative behavior that we're seeing because the gun community is pushing people to take their guns and act in violence because they don't like what they're seeing. Mm-hmm. And none of us can deny this.
Right. And just because I don't like what someone does, I don't like what someone says, there are a lot of things that people say to me. I get people that walk into my shop and will say stuff that I don't like. They will wear stuff that I don't like. You know what? But you know what? They have a right to express themselves, and I have a right to refuse service if I want to. But I don't. Hey, if a person wants to wear a certain thing, they want to fly certain things, they want to have tattoos of certain things. That's their right to have that. Whether it's in the Capitol, or it's in the Texas State Capitol, or it's in the U.S. Capitol, they actually do have that right to express themselves. And you know what? I like for them to express themselves. I like to know where all these people are that are doing certain things, and I like for you to wear your symbols on your body, your shirt, whatever, so I know what you're thinking and what you believe in. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Folks, this is Doug Man Jones. And I get my gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
Hello, my name is Edwin Walker. I'm an independent program attorney with Texas Law Shield. I want to talk to you today about an issue that we see on a daily basis. In fact, you yourself will encounter it on a daily basis, and that is the subject of road rage. I am sure that you have all seen road rage. You may have actually been involved in a road rage incident. Now, if you're a responsible gun owner, I'm going to give you a few words of advice on how to react when you find yourself in one of these unfortunate road rage incidents. While on the roadways, we all observe something that makes us upset. Whether it's poor driving, unsafe driving, or just simply somebody being very discourteous. By all means, you should restrain yourself from engaging that person and telling them how bad their actions were, because this can be perceived as an act of road rage. If you're a lawful gun owner, you have a firearm in your vehicle, you do not want to be viewed as the aggressor in a road rage situation. Now, with regard to a situation where an individual has chosen to rage against you, and you are the actual victim of the road rage, if you and the other individuals are still in their automobiles, do not use your firearm to respond to any of the rager's activities. This is because law enforcement views the fact that you're both still safely in your metal boxes as removing any threat of immediacy that you may be harmed. So please, if you have a gun, somebody is raging against you, forget you have a gun. Don't display it, don't brandish it, don't show it, don't point it, and for God's sake, don't fire it. This could result in a lot of trouble for you. Now let's look at a situation where a road rage incident has escalated. It has escalated to the point where one of the participants has actually gotten out of their vehicle. We recommend that you stay in your vehicle at all times. Do not exit your vehicle, because the person who exits their vehicle is going to be looked at as the aggressor. If the other individual has exited their vehicle, and they are not in contact with your vehicle, and they do not have a weapon, then do not feel that you can display your weapon in an act of self-defense. People are allowed to just simply stand there and scream at you, scream whatever they want, until they make a demonstrative effort to try to harm you. there is no immediate threat that would justify displaying or shooting or brandishing your firearm. Now, in the event that the person shows their own weapon,
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so let's talk about, what do we think, how do we think things are going to pan out over the next few years, the next year or so? Let's say the next year, Cody Wilson.
All right.
So, what is the Second Amendment looking like? What about polymer 80s?
Yeah.
What about AR pistols, AK pistols? What's going to happen?
Yeah, let me
What about my AR-15, Cody?
I just came up from out of the trenches literally like an hour ago, right?
Mm.
So I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing at the front, where the fighting's at, okay? It isn't pretty. But you know what? It wasn't pretty during Trump, okay? And I'm not trying to score points or whatever. Trump's on the way out. We all know how that went. But there were 2 big lawsuits set up against 80% receivers by August of 2020. One's in San Francisco, one's in New York. And what they're trying to happen is they hope Biden would win so that his attorney general, who I suppose will be Merrick Garland, by the
Okay.
way, will come in and he'll settle those cases. These are cases against the ATF.
Polymer 80s?
They involve Polymer 80
Okay.
because Polymer 80 is the most successful 80%.
So you think that the Biden administration, that DOJ,
Yeah.
will settle those cases?
What I expect to happen is even if the DOJ gives nominal resistance, the parties will collude together with the help of the judge, and the judge will say, you know what, ATF, this looks pretty arbitrary and capricious. Restart. 80% are illegal. Create new rulemaking about how you can and can't make.
You think they'll make them illegal?
Yes, because it'll
By
be,
way of
it'll be by proxy.
the organization? By way of the
They'll tell a judge will
ATF?
tell ATF, hey, this is wrong. You shouldn't have done this in the first place. You shouldn't have given all these letters out to 80% companies. Just like with the braces, we've seen how the letters went with the braces. They'll say start the rulemaking over.
go back and reevaluate everything
Exactly.
all over again.
And then ATF will be like, well, geez, sorry guys, yeah, we kind of messed up. Here's some letters. You should probably stop selling the 80% receivers.
Is that
or
even legal?
Or we're gonna put you in jail. So look, it doesn't matter because you saw how the Polymer 80 thing went down. Polymer 80 just got raided in Nevada.
Correct.
And ATF says, hey, by the way, sorry, you're all criminals because the way you were selling these kits is actually a gun. We decided, it turns out, and they can do that now, especially if a judge gives them cover. They can just do that to any type of incomplete receiver. I think within the next year, easy. If I want to go real aggressive, I think within the next 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
It depends on the speed at which some of these cases are proceeding in New York.
What about my AR-15? Am I going to lose that too?
Let me tell you, you'll lose it if you let someone take it from your cold, dead hand. But look, it's harder to pass legislation in this environment, as I think some people have understood since the Georgia elections. Joe Biden doesn't have a strong Democrat majority in Congress. In fact, he has very tenuous Democrat majorities, but majorities nonetheless. Still, if they're going to pass anything legislatively, they have to do it with like a supermajority, in essence, to approve the vote. That will require Republicans. I don't think Republicans are going to do anything to hurt the AR-15 legislatively for the next 2 years. So as long as they keep the legislative filibuster, I don't think you lose your AR-15 in the next 2 years. But these courts, like I said in the last segment, these courts have never treated the AR-15 like a real gun protected by the Second Amendment. They have ignored it. They have applied intermediate scrutiny. They have said it's an assault weapon that's not protected by the Second Amendment. They have laid the foundation for the Supreme Court to agree. And that's my take.
Okay. All right. What do you think, Zach?
They chose the wrong letters
Why you
for
say
the
that?
AR-15
Why? What should the letters
because
be?
everybody thinks it's assault rifle, right?
Army-light rifle.
Exactly.
Well, these anti-gunners would have been able to spin it up into, whatever. I mean, you name it whatever you want. They'll name it, baby killer.
The BR
Super plus.
15, that's a bad rifle.
Yeah, exactly. It's just always and ever going to be like that. And in fact, the generation of the idea of the assault weapon in the first place is a focus group idea from Handgun Control Incorporated or whatever in the late 1970s.
All right. So what are some of the things that Defense Distributed working on?
Well, we got ghostgunner.net.
Okay.
We sell kits, we sell 80% receivers, we sell the piece of equipment that finishes those 80s. And what's important is there's a wide community of people sharing code to do that kind of stuff, to do engraving and all this other stuff. But if the nature of these incomplete receivers is going to change, if they're going to make 80s illegal, well, we're going to have to move to whatever the next thing is. So what is that? 0%, 15%? I don't know. But a ghost gunner, for example, as a platform, will always be able to work with that. Whereas your standard jigs or tools and stuff, we're only working with the old 80%. So I would say we're at least one leg ahead, one step up.
Now, what about the big demand on firearms right now? Well, there's a huge demand in this country for guns and ammunition.
Yeah.
But the supply is not there. Why is the supply not there? What's
Well,
going on?
I think there was a lot of wait and see because of COVID interrupting supply lines too, and because of the political crisis, a lot of people sold out, and then they wanted to wait and see what the political situation ended up with at the end of the year. I'm hearing Glock is selling back into the demand a little bit now. I know Sig is, and I'm starting to see.
Are they having
supply.
Is it why? Because typically, Glock, they do like X amount of thousands of guns per day.
Yeah.
Are they? Do you think they're still doing that right now? They're still doing that number. They're getting their parts and pieces, or they're having problems getting parts and pieces.
Well, like your major dealers at Davidson's and Lipsy's and stuff, they've been out and not calling
Distributors,
people
yeah.
and stuff for a long time. But Glock suspended. I think what was it? Gen 3s or Gen 2s or something?
I'm not sure.
They suspended one whole generation of frame or of material in 20. So there are calculations, right? And they're all based on economic factors and political factors. I don't know the hand of Glock. I know that Sig is more friendly with our industry, and I know Glock does still sell OEM stuff to people within my sphere, and they're selling a ton of stuff. It's just
Because what I'm saying is, like, for example, Taurus.
Yeah.
Taurus they get their guns from Brazil.
Yeah.
Well, what about COVID-19? Brazil shut down.
Right.
They shut down for a long period of time.
right.
And so we're not getting those guns, those parts and pieces, whatever, out of Brazil. So that's affecting the entire Taurus line.
That's right. But
So other like, are you having problems with that? With the things that you need to get the Ghost Gunner, completed?
Yeah. Our supply chain is more in the east, like a lot of Texas companies are.
It's in the U.S.
No, I mean in like the east, like
East.
Asia. So
Oh, okay.
a
So
lot
when
of
they
our-
shut down, that affects you.
yeah, exactly. But they shut down, ahead of the United States, for example, as we saw it coming, and then they had some shutdowns in a kind of second wave at one point in 2020, and so a lot of us have adjusted to that, and we're fine. We still see some local restrictions and stuff, but no, I would say by and large, as long as you've got supplies of aluminum and steel, copper, right, and things coming in, which do seem to be happening now, and China's at full speed again, from what I can see. It's not that. It's more like companies have let their stocks sell out in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and they're making tactical decisions about how to sell into 2021.
They're trying to figure out, what's going to sell, and,
Even-
and figure out what models they need to put out there.
Oh yeah, look, man, I know there was a ton of stuff I didn't invest in because I wanted to see how the Senate race went in November, right? Not
Right.
just the presidential race. And then
But the demand is so high, though, and the supply is the supply is lower than it's ever been in the history of this country when it comes to firearms.
It
There are
feels
gun
that way.
stores academies, your
Yeah.
major, big, huge gun stores have
Yeah.
nothing inside.
I mean, that's a demand side issue, though, right? Because you probably had this is the greatest demand you've ever experienced on a mass scale. You got people who've never bought guns before buying 3 or 4 at this point. There was so much fear and uncertainty, not just economically but politically, and of course we had all the social problems, which for some reason aren't a problem anymore. That wasn't insurrection, as I've
But when I talk to distributors, I
Yeah.
talk to the big distributors, your RSRs, your Lipsys,
Sure.
your Davidsons. When I talk to them, I said,
Sure.
what's going on? They say, well, we're not getting the numbers, we're not getting the deliveries, the amount of firearms that we normally get. Instead of them getting 100 of this particular model, 100, 200 of that model,
yeah.
they're getting like 5s and 10s of this.
Yeah, to some degree, you can behave more like monopoly now because everybody's just getting in line. We have huge wait lists. I'm sure you have some wait lists for certain product. There's only so much I can buy from PSA, for example, that I can buy from RSR. I mean, obviously, and people are comfortable with that. Our industry as well isn't exactly the most efficient and the most lean of manufacturing and sourcing industries anyway. So they take their time.
Right.
I think it's more of a characteristic of our industry too. They're not always in a hurry to
Right.
respond to market conditions.
No, they're not. They're really slow. And people, I don't think people understand, the things that we go through to try to get things, rolling, get things moving, running a company, running a business. People just don't understand. I remember last year, back in May, June, it was June or July, where I had a huge issue with one of my credit card processors where they held on to a large amount of money. I'm talking quarter or something. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna put that.
Talking
I'm
about-
gonna say it like that. They held on to a lot of money,
Yeah.
and it was because they shut stuff down. They went to remotes. They were remote, so they had to adjust to that. I couldn't even talk to anyone at the credit card company.
Yeah.
To get things done, to make things happen.
Yeah.
Whether it's refunds, getting my money, whatever it was. It's like you couldn't talk to anyone. They actually they deleted their phone number from their website.
Wow. Yeah.
So things are just crazy like that. So, and we still haven't come back from that. Even still today,
No.
my credit card processors don't have their telephone number listed on the website. You can't call them if there's an issue. You can't get anyone on the phone.
Earlier, I mean, when I said, "Hey, it's the end of the AR-15,"
Right.
actually, when they make it a dead letter that you can't own it, that's the very, very end. The real end of the AR-15 is when you can't buy one, when you can't buy it with a credit card, and when
Right.
Visa and Mastercard are like, you know what? Nope, nope, not for us. Now they've said recently that okay, as long as AR-15 is legal, we're gonna let our merchants sell it. Well, how long do you think that's gonna last
Right.
in this environment? I got Shannon Watson, Business Insider, last week being like, do the right thing, Visa. Do the right, All right. Well, that drumbeat only lasts so long, and right now these things are moving fast.
I don't think they're going to do it because I think what's going to happen is they're trying to work on getting that revenue in. I don't think they want to shut anything down.
I mean,
so they'll get revenue from wherever they can. We come back from the break. We're going to talk with Cody Wilson. Going to talk about what's happening in D.C., what's happening in Texas State Capitol. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Jack Jones here, and I get my gun news from Michael Cargill on Come and Talk It.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so let's go back talk about this insurrection. You know, we're talking about this during the break. When there's an insurrection, aren't there a list of demands?
Oh man, that's what I wanted to say to your caller. Well, your caller's long gone, right? You flushed him by now?
No. Hold on.
Put this
James
brother back
McCoy,
on.
James.
Yes, sir.
All right, so when there's an insurrection, James, isn't there a list of demands and and a bunch of people die whenever you Google insurrection, you look at this in history?
Let's go back to the meaning of insurrection.
All right.
When you look at the meaning, doesn't it mean it's a violent violent uprising against an authority or government or something to that nature? So when we look at the meaning of what insurrection is, and we look at the purpose why these people came from near and far to do exactly what they did, we can understand the outcome. And I think that's what people are missing. When I see people, again, walking around in the United States of America in Washington, D.C., with firearms, and they don't have permits, again, we're putting this on the gun community. We know how strict D.C. gun laws are, but yet you have people willing to come into the district armed. And we don't think to ask ourselves, well, what's the purpose of those people coming armed to the United States Capitol? Then we think of the word insurrection. We put it all together, we see exactly, what took place, and we understand why it took place. And that's the hypocrisy I see within the gun community, because everybody wants to play stupid now.
See, Mike, in my historical review, I don't have to play word games about knowing when an insurrection happened or not, right? Like in the Bastille, they break into the fortress, they capture the governor, they kill a bunch of people, put heads on pikes, and steal all the gunpowder. Very easy to be like, yeah, that was an insurrection. Also because the insurrection was literally called for, as happened in the French Revolution. So like when I look at the American Revolution, yeah, okay, everybody put the word out. Yeah, we're going to murder our government. We're going to go to war for a long time. Well, what we had in D.C. was a bunch of tourists taking pictures, all right? And as far as I could tell, I watched the streams, right? I saw high fives, handshakes with cops, all right? This was not a group of people that came into the rotunda and said, all right, we declare a new government. Here are the warrants for the politicians. Arrest them. An insurrection has been declared. It didn't happen, and you're confusing yourself.
Who were the people with nooses and wanted to even hang Mike Pence and wanted to terminate Nancy Pelosi? Let's go back. And if we want to,
that's a joke. That's a joke. I'm sorry. I can't be polite about that. All right. Hang Mike Pence is speech. That's aggressive speech. It's figurative speech. But if you believe for a second there was a mob there that was going to hang Mike Pence, you've been fooled, brother. The info war happened to you. You are a casualty of the info war, brother.
So if we got people there that are filled with the rah-rah, right, that are bringing guns to the nation's capital, knowing that you don't supposed to have guns in Washington, D.C., but yet they're bringing guns anyway.
Is this what a Democrat gun club is, where we can only protest where guns are allowed, and that's the meaning of the Second Amendment? You got to give me a break. Any protest is a show of force by definition. By definition, if a crowd shows up, that's one of its aspects. I'm showing that we have force here. If it's an armed crowd, I'm showing that we have a lot of force here.
So if you're bringing firearms, sir, in a restricted area, or you're breaking the law knowing that firearms are not allowed, are you being a responsible gun owner?
I wish you could see my face right now. I'm crying. I'm weeping.
But again, what message are you sending in the gun community if you're actually telling people it's okay to break laws, especially in a federal city? Would you go on a military installation where they tell you that you can't have firearms and you're going to take your firearms there?
I got to tell you, I think everybody in this country is unified with one idea, which is that there ought to be a lot more bodies and a lot more firepower in that federal city.
Well, again, I'm not going to break a law because I'm a legal gun owner. Now I'm looking at people who came in the city knowing damn well they didn't supposed to bring their guns, and now they lost their gun rights. So for the people who think that you have people in government who wish to take guns from all of us, and I do believe that too. I believe you have an elite group of people that would love to take guns from everybody. But when you get nuts who come in and they purposely violate laws that everybody know exist, you're doing nothing but helping them. When I see people storm the Capitol with crossbows and nooses and things that they could kidnap or they can arrest people, that's an insurrection. I don't care if you're saying that they're actors or they're joking. somebody there took it seriously, especially the woman that climbed through the window, and now she's taking a dirt nap.
Man,
are we not responsible for that kind of behavior because we encourage it?
I weep for the American gun owner, man. I weep for the kept
I weep
pets,
for the
safe
weak-minded
little...
American that thinks it's okay to rebel against his own government because their president lost a re-election. That's what I weep for.
Man, I'm sorry.
I weep for the American gun owner that thinks it's okay to bring firearms in a restricted area. I weep for the American gun owner who listens to the rhetoric within the gun community who says it's okay to storm and loot and take property from your own capital. That's things, let me watch my language, those are actions that you see in a third world country and not the United States of America.
Yeah, I think they're actions you see in first world countries too. There's a gentleman, I don't know, I keep going back to him for reference. His name was Thomas Jefferson. He helped write the Declaration of the Rights of Man. You might have heard of it. Anyway, one of those rights of man.
How long ago was this, my brother?
One of those, 1793. Anyway, you might have heard of the Declaration of the Rights of Man, and it included the sovereign right, the holy right of insurrection. For when a government isn't working for people, you got to throw it off, man.
How's the government not working and they voted?
Oh, you got to give me a break.
Mike,
you got a caller on here saying this government's working.
It was working when Trump won the election, but now that Trump lost the election, all of a sudden the system doesn't work.
This government, I think, as all people recognize, is like the Sun Microsystems of government. All right, it needs to go bankrupt yesterday. It needs to be reset and turned into something else.
The only thing is wrong with the government is its controllers. You have corruption on both sides, Democrats and Republicans. We can agree to that. But the manner that we go in correcting the instruments that's controlling the temperature is not by storming your own capital. I said the same thing with Antifa. You know, we're not going to be hypocrites and say that it's okay for Antifa to throw bricks through windows and to set things on fire in their own cities. You get what I mean? So if Antifa was wrong for the actions that they committed in their form of protest, then these people who stormed and broke windows and threatened police officers in the United States Capitol should be held, I would even say, for treason. There's no way in heck that as American patriots that we can watch our own government building, Capitol, be sacked by Americans over an election. Come on, guys, we're better than that.
Man, you know, we're going to have to agree to disagree, but when I saw Nancy
What
Pelosi...
about waiting 4 more years, taking your butts out to the polls, and voting Biden and Harris out if you feel disappointed that Trump didn't win?
Let's just vote harder next time, guys. Let's vote harder. The reality is we have a permanent government in place, right? What we're debating here and what these goofy MAGA people are debating at the Capitol was a change of the ceremonial head of government. Oh, no, we really care about who the president is. But what a number of people have discovered over especially the last 10 years is it doesn't matter who you make the president of this terrible, awful, humongous administrative state, which is so injurious to our rights, our sacred liberties and honor. There's nothing that we can do to remove it or to replace it, and it will only do injustice and injury to us for the rest of our lives, taking while it does so and telling us that it serves us. And you, sir, are its humble, kept pet, telling people to go to free speech zones and Second Amendment zones. Please protest only where they tell you that you can, brothers and sisters. Don't let them hurt you more.
And I love you for your ghost gun machines, but you have 70,000 people that follow Donald Trump, and a good number of them were there because Trump told America that he was cheated. Now, had those people been told the truth that he actually lost the election, they would not have wanted, they would not have gone to the Capitol to loot, to kidnap, and maybe even, I shouldn't say the word kill, but kill. I'm here in Washington, D.C. I'm listening, not just to the news, but I'm listening to some of the police officers who were there, right? I'm going on some of these crazy sites with some of these crazy gun people, and I'm listening to the things that they say about elected officials that they don't get along with or that they don't agree with. Everybody looks at Nancy Pelosi as she's the damn devil reincarnated. How many times have we seen death threats being made on social media about what should happen to her? Maxine Waters, she came out and said something in her reply to a death threat. They said that they were going to shoot her. She said that you better shoot straight. See, the gun community bears a responsibility that I think that a lot of us don't have the courage to tell other people that they're wrong. Because what happens when a mass shooting, everybody knows that this man was angry. And no one wants to say anything until he actually goes out and does the unthinkable. Then we want to say, no, it wasn't the gun's fault. It's the guy with the gun. We agree on that. But what did we do to talk the guy with the gun off the ledge before he went in Denny's and shot up all those people, or before he went into the Walmart with his glasses on and his ears on and he shot up all these people? We see the monster growing, and we know that monster is mad. That monster is angry. But rather than trying to tame that monster, we keep feeding it more anger and more hate until that monster just goes out and does the unthinkable, like what we saw at that Capitol.
Now, I remember in Maxine Waters, and I stood up there and she said, you know what? We need to go where these people are. We need to go where they're sitting down with their family eating dinner. We need to go where they are, where they're shopping, and we need to call them out and we need to confront them no matter where they are. So, and this was like 4 years ago when, and I remember when Trump took to the stage to be sworn in as president of the United States 4 years ago. And within 10 minutes of him being president, they were calling for him to be impeached. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Hey, this is AWR Hawkins of Breitbart News, and you're listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so I want to change gears a little bit. I want to talk about the Texas Capitol and this legislative session and talk about how we have more anti-gun bills that have been filed in Texas in the history of this state. More anti-gun bills have been filed in Texas in the history of this state.
Yeah, I actually heard that there was one bill that was filed that will both change the definition of a protest to at least one person on the street.
Yeah, that was State Representative Vicki Goodwin.
And it would also make it so you cannot have your gun, even if you're licensed, within 500 feet of said protest.
That's correct. And the way this bill is written, it says that, let us say you're sitting somewhere in a restaurant somewhere, you're out in the patio, and all of a sudden, it takes one person to show up to protest. And you're carrying a gun, you're committing a crime.
Well, McCoy, I guess you got to go home, man. I guess your caller has to go home, Mike. Don't bring him back.
All right, and then
it's legal. He needs to go home.
All right, I want to talk about that, and also want to talk about the fact that the NRA is fleeing New York. They're leaving New York and they're coming to Texas. Yeah. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? My question is, why in the world was the NRA in New York in the first place for so long? Why didn't they leave years ago?
Well, the NRA is an old organization. I mean, like the same way Remington and Colton, everybody are all originally headquartered out of the Northeast. So was the NRA.
Yeah, when you say NRA, I just think of Charlton Heston, right?
Sure. I mean, how old is the NRA? 1860 something? Or I mean, I haven't looked in a while, but gosh, could you have even been in many other states? It was a weird message of theirs though to say like, oh yeah, we're bankrupt. But,
they go with the wind, whichever way the wind's blowing. That's how they go.
But we're moving to Texas, 1871. Right. Yeah.
And the Texas State Rifle Association's got a new legislative director, new legislative director that at the Capitol now. No one knows who this person is.
That email, yeah, I got that.
Yeah, you got that. Huh? Yeah, no one knows who this person is. They're trying to make this person into a pro-gun person, but I don't think the Texas State Rifle Association really wants to push what the majority of the people that are in the pro-gun community are actually pushing. They're not pushing that same message. And the way I understand it is the majority of the people that are on the board for the Texas State Rifle Association, they think that only people that should be able to carry guns are police officers.
They said that? Who said that?
I'm not going to clarify that statement.
Oh, no. That's terrible.
I put it out there one time, and that's all I'm going to say.
TSRA is weird. They're kind of like the NRA of Texas. They're a bunch of weird. They got this weird Eastern liberal vibe going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's they're worried you won't consider them respectable if they promote things like constitutional carry or. I mean, I'm just talking to the choir right now, but
right.
It's a weird kind of noblesse oblige over there at the TSRA. It's all about money and respectability politics and stuff.
Good old boy.
I don't get it.
Good old boy.
This come from someone who gave them money.
Right.
I don't feel like I got much out of it.
No. Yeah. Well, unless they come along and really move with the times, we're going to have this problem. I don't think they're with the times and what's really happening.
Texas had like an anti-3D printed gun bill last session.
Did they?
Yeah, and TSRA wouldn't score it from what I remember. They kind of stayed away from it. It's like
probably because of who wrote the bill.
What good are you?
A lot of stuff is who wrote the bill, who's the sponsor. They're not willing to step on any toes,
man.
Unless this person is unless it's a Democrat,
yeah,
then they'll step on their toes. If it's a Republican, they won't say anything.
I mean, I got to be truthful. I think it was a Democrat that wrote the bill, but it's some of these things are, what's the difference? But are we actually worried about any of these gun bills getting traction this year? What do you say, Mike?
Don't know because we'll see. All it takes is one little incident to happen, and we know how funny things can go.
Yeah.
All it took was the knife bill. What happened on the day that the Texas legislature was going to debate and vote on the knife bill that morning was the UT stabbing, and that changed history.
Dang.
Then they said, okay, whoa, hold on. Well, we need to make sure you can't take a knife with length of blades over 5.5 inches in certain places.
I forgot about that.
It changed that morning. So all it takes is one little incident. When these people are in office between now and June, and anything can go. They go in a direction that the wind's blowing.
In 2015, we took Ghost Gunner to the Capitol. I don't know if you remember this. We showed the lawmakers. We were like, get used to it. You got to normalize them. They're like herd animals. You got to be like, look, it's safe. Come touch it. and that's all I can say about these scared little lawmakers, these little legislators. Hush, little lamb.
All right, so what do you, what are some of the things that you want to focus on here in Texas?
Well, you talking to me?
Yeah, as far as Texas.
Just leave me alone, please.
That's it?
Texas, please.
Just leave you alone.
If it ain't broke, guys, everyone's coming here. Just leave it alone. Have an amazing session where you don't mess anything up.
Elon Musk is coming.
You'll have a banner year. Just don't screw it up, Texas.
Elon,
don't get too smart.
Elon likes guns.
Yeah, I guess he does. I don't know, man. The HP's moving. Everybody's moving out here, and it's like, okay, that'll work for a few years. And then it's just a job for that next wave of people that come.
Mhm.
By gosh.
You think that's going to change the way people vote?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I know Abbott's out there being like, "Oh no, we looked at the numbers and it's 60% conservative." Maybe so for that first crop of people, but gosh, soon if this is the only place to work, we're gonna have the same
I
problem.
think he's going to be
everybody
okay
say
for his
that.
next election. He'll be fine.
Okay, yeah,
He's going to have to fend off, and we're talking about Governor Abbott. He's going to have to fend off some opponents on his own party, but I think he'll be able to fight them off because he's got a lot of dirt on him, so he'll be able to fight them off easily.
I mean, he's a strong guy. He runs ahead of national politicians, but look, I mean, November was close.
Yeah.
Closest it's been in a long time.
Yeah.
How much longer will it be that way?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure the chair of the Texas Republican Party, he's going to probably run for governor against Governor Abbott.
Is that right?
Yeah, most likely. But they got dirt on him, so they're going to shut him down real quick.
I mean, Abbott's the man. How can you can't get too upset. I didn't like some of the COVID stuff, but then nobody did. At least he's put Austin in line a few times.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, what do you think? Do you think we're going to be wearing these masks much longer?
Oh yeah, forever.
Forever?
Why not?
Nah, we're not going to be wearing them forever.
Like Milton Friedman said, there's nothing as permanent as a temporary.
Are you going to get the shot?
No, man.
You're not going to get the vaccine?
They'll probably make me get the shot, though, won't they?
If you want to travel,
Probably.
you have to get a card.
Well, then I'll have to tell them that here's my
You're going to
forged card.
there we go. That's right. That's right. We can lie
You
about
get in
stuff.
the card
You
game.
can lie about stuff like
In
that.
the vaccine card game, that's what you do.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think
Yeah.
about that. People get all uptight about so many different things. I'm like, there's certain people that you can lie to. You just can't lie to law enforcement. But you can lie to everybody else. You can
corruption
lie to
is
your
a-
doctor.
Of course.
Yeah, it is. You can lie to your doctor.
Thankfully, corruption exists in most countries, and it's like a safety valve. Like,
Yeah.
gosh, perfect compliance on the COVID vaccine, that would just wreck the country. That would wreck everything.
They don't adhere to OSHA laws. So I don't even want anyone to know when I get a test or anything like that because they leak everything,
This is the
every
new hot
information.
thing, though, and your iPhone's going to be like, someone near you's got the COVID, and you'll be involved in these involuntary technical things that you're not aware of. You start getting text messages because they know you got the virus somehow. That's going to be a problem. That's new.
Right.
And that's happening in New York to people, That's coming.
All right. Hey, let me go back to Taylor. Taylor Blunt. I don't know if you're still there, Taylor. Anything new come out of the Texas State Capitol? Anything new? Any riots? Any yelling, screaming? Anyone arrested?
No, it's pretty much wrapped up here. Everybody kind of left. They made kind of some closing statements and just kind of walked away.
Oh man, what did they say? Anything good? That's it?
What were their demands, Taylor?
No, they condemned the attack on the U.S. Capitol and said yeah.
Yeah.
They said it was weak.
I'm kind of suspect of this organization. I'm telling you.
They condemned the attack.
I'm suspect here. Yeah,
They were-
definitely suspect.
Never heard of him
I
before.
didn't see many Trump supporters there, honestly. There was maybe one guy with a
And
manga
see-
hat, no flag.
And see, the funny thing is, Austin is the capital of Texas, and Texas is a huge state, but it's a very small community, and everybody knows everybody. And when I go to the Capitol, I know who's with what group and who stands with what. If this person stands on the left, I know this person stands on the right. I know this person's a libertarian. There are no surprises, But if I go downtown to the Capitol and I don't recognize these people, suspect. This is all suspect.
It was quite surprised because I had not recognized the specific the ones that spoke specifically, but there were.
I don't know
boys
any
who
of those
were-
people that spoke today. This is all suspect. I'm telling you right now. I'm not falling for this communist plot, people. You're not fooling me. This is all suspect. This is
I don't know. I
something
know
is
the
up,
communists,
and I don't know what it is,
it
but
wasn't
something's up.
them.
Go ahead. Say it again.
I know the communists. It wasn't them. I didn't see any left-wing agitators there at all.
Yeah, something's up. I'm telling you, people, do not in the days to come, whether it's 6 months, a year down the road, do not let someone suck you into doing something. Don't get sucked up into the hype. Whenever, something starts, you're downtown, you're at the Capitol, you're going to, to different, elected officials' offices, you're trying to get things done. Don't get sucked into what is happening around you. Don't let someone pull you into whatever they're trying to do. Don't let them control your emotions. You keep control of yourself and what's happening because something is up. I don't know what it is. Can't put my finger on it, but it doesn't smell right. It's not passing the smell test. All right, so, man, Cody, what you got to say to the people before we go?
Live long and prosper.
James McCoy, what do you got to say to the people before we go?
Hey, go back in history, study the Resurrection Act,
of 1807. I believe our brother in arms, he brought up something interesting about Thomas Jefferson, but it was Thomas Jefferson who actually signed the Insurrection Act. I think I said Resurrection Act. I'm sorry about that, guys, but the Insurrection Act of 1807.
All right.
And as what Michael said, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see, and research things before you open your mouth.
All right. Thank you, James.
Oh, yeah, Insurrection Act. Well, look, once Thomas Jefferson was an American president, he abused his office and was worthy of being deposed and murdered himself.
As always, more guns equals less crime. You go out there and you buy yourself a gun. You've been listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.